Trauma bond is the strong emotional connection created between yourself and the narcissist. We may also label this same feeling as a soul tie, a spiritual connection, or strong chemistry. To be able to break the trauma bond in the easiest and most effective way, we must first understand what it is and how or why it has affected us. When we have a view of the situation from a different perspective, it can give us clear insight, understanding, and the strength to detach. The narcissist creates an emotional high at the beginning of the relationship through the love bombing phase. They may shower us with romantic gestures, gifts, and words of devotion. Our dopamines are through the roof, and we think we are in love, unaware that the love bombing was all an act of manipulation from the narcissist's perspective. The connection is so powerful we can often start believing that we have met our soulmate or twin flame. But the truth is, narcissists have no personality of their own. The love bombing was all an act, and they were only mirroring who you were. When you look at the relationship dynamic in this way, it is apparent you actually fell in love with your own traits. They had been studying your wants, needs, past hurts, vulnerabilities, dreams, and goals, then using it to create a blueprint to become your ideal lover, just to make you believe that they understand you and that they are everything you have been wanting and needing. The passion often feels so intense that it can force the relationship to move quickly into a deeper but unknowingly toxic connection. Once the narcissist believes they have us trusting and committed in the relationship, that's when their mask begins to slip. They no longer feel the need to put so much effort in anymore, and it is exhausting for them to be something that they are not. We then begin to see the negative and true side to the narcissist. They'll breadcrumb us with small amounts of attention to keep us believing in their false love and identity, whilst counting on us to remember the good times so that we choose to stay in the relationship. We are only living on hope at this point, hoping that we can get back to the euphoria feeling we were experiencing at the beginning of the relationship, and hoping for a future that the narcissist had falsely promised our relationship to be. Because we are honest, we assume the narcissist was honest too. We naively believed their carefully planned and deliberate empty words. After only a few short weeks, you may see inconsistencies and contradictions in the narcissist's behaviors. But because we think we love the narcissist, we tend to always give them the benefit of the doubt, especially because they can come up with the most believable excuses for their contradictions and poor conduct. It's difficult to not believe their so-called logical reasonings when you are unaware of who they truly are. In turn, this actually allows for the narcissist to feel powerful because it confirms to them that they are able to manipulate and gaslight us, thus continuing their abusive behaviors and never having to be held accountable or hold true to their words. The next stage is when the narcissist begins to devalue us. They do this to their victims with subtle abuses whilst using gaslighting techniques to hide their true intentions, such as constantly putting us down through passive-aggressive comments, so they can easily be brushed off as a joke if the narcissist is called out, thus blaming you for being overly sensitive or taking it the wrong way. They may even start comparing you to a third party to make you feel like you are not good enough. This can often make you try and please the narcissist more and compete with the third party for the narcissist's acceptance and validation. If you are not one to compete for their attention and would rather call them out on any of their poor behaviors instead, you may see evidence of their internal rage. This narcissistic rage is the outcome of a narcissistic injury, often caused by a truth that challenges their false identity or a loss of control. Once this side to their personality is exposed, the narcissist will sense that you are emotionally withdrawing from the relationship. This is when they may use blame shifting, deflecting, denying, and more love bombing techniques to draw your energy back towards them. And it often includes reasoning to portray themselves as a victim of a circumstance, and that's why they did what they did. This plays on the empath's heart strings, thus making the empath want to fix the damaged narcissist. Again, justifying the narcissist's poor behavior and ignoring more red flags. Narcissists can also twist the truth to make their deceptive actions appear to have good intentions, thus making the caring and naive empath feel bad for complaining. And now the empath is blaming him or herself for no reason. This tactic encourages us to forgive the narcissist, to ignore the red flags, and pull us back into the relationship once again. When in truth, their true intention is wicked and selfish. Narcissists can twist the truth so well that it is extremely difficult to catch them out on the lie unless they are caught in the act. Even in the beginning of the relationship, we had already lost control of our emotions. And we knowingly handed that control over to the narcissist. They had already played with our vulnerabilities, our loneliness, our love, our guilt, our empathy, and our sympathy. The gut instinct that tells us that something doesn't feel right is another major red flag that we tend to ignore. Without proof, we feel we have no reason to leave the relationship. And the narcissist will use this fact against the victim, so they feel an obligation to stay and make the relationship work. Another huge red flag we often ignore is when a close relative or friend tells you they don't like your new partner. But because the connection we feel is so strong and the high feels euphoric, we assume that others just do not understand the love we share with the narcissist. But we mistake the feeling for love when it is actually trauma bond. As we fall deeper into the relationship, the gaslighting affects our minds so much that we can no longer see or feel the truth. We were unaware that the narcissist purposely gaslit us to plant self-doubt into our minds, so we no longer trust our own thoughts or feelings. Our intuition, our confidence, and our identity is beginning to wither. They wanted us to only trust their empty words and play along with their manipulations. Our gut feeling can be overwhelmed by intense feelings of confusion, excitement, wonder, passion, and anxiety, all at the same time. We know that if one of our closest friends was experiencing what we were going through, we would tell them to get out of the relationship. But the most confusing part is while it is happening to us, we just cannot seem to leave, often making excuses for the abuse. And we find ourselves defending the narcissist's actions by justification. This way of thinking is also another major red flag that we ignore. It is truly fascinating how trauma bonding works. It is like being under a spell that has been cast on you from the devil himself, just so you can allow him to slowly torture you as he pleases. I like to compare it to that story about the frog. You put a frog in a pot of water, and he is quite content. And then the stove gets turned on, but the frog is unaware of what is happening. The frog's body temperature slowly adjusts to the water as it gradually heats up. And by the time the water begins to boil, it is too late for the frog. That is what it's like to be in a narcissistic relationship. We must stop ignoring the red flags before we get any more deeper into the relationship. Without an understanding of the narcissist's games and what role we are actually playing in this relationship dynamic, we often give the narcissist the benefit of the doubt and choose to remain as the frog in the pot of water. And now we can feel stuck in the relationship with a state of mental and emotional confusion created by the constant gaslighting. And because we believe the lies, we begin to live in a state of cognitive dissonance. This state of being makes us more susceptible to being further gaslit and manipulated deeper into the toxic situation. When we are unaware that heartless people who only want to exploit us through emotional manipulation truly exists, then we are highly susceptible to become their victim. Whenever we choose to leave the relationship at this point, the narcissist exhausts all manipulation tactics to keep you in it. It can feel like a constant emotional drain, a push and pull between the heart, mind, body, and soul. Your soul wants to leave, but your mind and emotions keep you stuck. Narcissists are persistent and do not like to be rejected or to be told no. And for many victims, we can tend to give into their persistence, wanting to believe that their efforts are due to their love and devotion for us, that they truly are sorry and will change their ways. Unaware that they were only tactics to keep us in their web of torture and lies. We believe the false apologies, the victimhood stories, the the future faking, the empty promises, and we see their actions as devotion instead of a contract of compliance. So instead of leaving them for good, we forgive them and justify their behaviors even more. But we are actually only gaslighting ourselves, continuously making excuses for their abuse. And we end up spending our time trying to work through the relationship due to the guilt, sympathy, and confusion they have incited in our emotions. We falsely believe that if we can fix the brokenness in the narcissist, then we can have a successful and passionate relationship and get back that person we first fell in love with, unable to see that the person in our mind never actually existed. We were unaware that the emptiness in the narcissist's soul could never have been filled by any of our efforts or our love, no matter how much we gave. Whether we are a codependent who want to please people or an empath who wants to fix others, our natural personalities can often attract the narcissists. Both personality types offer great sources of supply to them. Empaths are highly sensitive to emotions, which makes for a vulnerable target easy to exploit. And their naturally caring nature will easily fall for the narcissist's victimhood stories, foolishly believing that we can fix the broken person back to wholeness. The victims are strategically chosen by the narcissist to be their main source of supply. Empaths also choose to see the good in people and will often give the narcissist the benefit of the doubt and constantly forgive them. But this quality actually enables the narcissist to continue their deceiving and abusive ways. People that have never experienced unconditional love, kindness, or validation from parents or caregivers growing up are highly susceptible to this form of manipulation. With having no other love to compare it to, we can often settle for these types of unhealthy relationships, believing this must be what love is. And especially if we are accustomed to being treated this way as a child in the family dynamic, then this feeling is already familiar. When our childhood traumas have not been healed, we can become people pleasers or have a need to want to fix broken people. We may also think that if we can fix them, then they will love, accept, and need us. So, once we are in a narcissistic relationship, our natural personalities can keep us stuck either wanting to please or wanting to fix the narcissist, or feeling like we need their validation and acceptance at the same time. Dr. Ramani explains that people who have attachment or avoidance styles created from past childhood traumas are more vulnerable to trauma bonding as an adult. Dr. Ramani's YouTube video on trauma bonding gives great insight from her view as a licensed clinical psychologist. And if you have never heard of her, I definitely recommend you learn from all her YouTube videos. The narcissist continues to declare their love whilst exploiting and abusing the victim at the same time, thus getting what they want over and over, whilst the victim never gets any of their needs met in return, but believing that they are loved because the narcissist said so, even when their actions don't match their words. That is being in the state of cognitive dissonance. You either have to believe they love us because of their words, or believe that they don't because of their actions. Both beliefs contradict each other, and our mind has to choose only one belief to be able to survive in the relationship. So we believe that we are loved, in order to simply survive and feel sane. Over time, the victim begins to confuse the abuse with love, and the chains of the trauma bond are locked in place. The victim is now in the low phase from all the abuse and having dispensed so much of their energy for the narcissist's needs. They can feel mentally, spiritually, and emotionally weak, and left in a state of mental and physical anguish, anxiety, and exhaustion. This is when the narcissist will often breadcrumb the victim with small amounts of effort or attention. But because the victim has been so energetically depleted, the breadcrumbing feels like the biggest high that they have long been yearning for. The small amount of breadcrumbs can feel like we have been given a whole loaf of bread when we are trauma bonded. And we cannot see it for the tiny crumb it actually is. The feeling becomes like a drug addiction. The highs are really euphoric and the lows are deeply distressful. Just like nicotine addiction, our mind and body get used to living this way. And that is why it can feel so difficult to break the trauma bond. It is an addiction, and like all other addictions, it is an endless cycle of highs and lows. In time, there will be less highs and more lows, with the lows becoming more and more abusive over time. Just like any other drug addiction, it is difficult to break the habit. And just like some addicts, they will let the drug take control of their life. For some people, this may sound totally insane that anyone would want to stay in these relationships. However, it is like how a non-smoker would think towards being a smoker. The obvious facts do sound and appear truly insane. But for many of us, the feelings that these toxic relationships give are the same feelings we grew up with in our childhoods. That familiar feeling of what we had learned about what love was, from our parents or primary caregivers. How do we know how bad it actually is, if we have not experienced anything better? Nobody would wish that feeling on anybody, but when it is all you know, it can be easy to accept. There are many things to accept before you can fully break free from the trauma bond. You must first accept that you cannot help or change the narcissist. They do not want to change, and they never wanted you to fix them. I seen this funny TikTok video once, and it explained our situation well. We empaths are always trying to fix our narcissist. But we are unaware that the narcissist has many other people trying to fix them too. The narcissist has a whole damn construction crew behind our backs, and they're loving all the attention. It is the hard truth we must accept. The narcissist's intention was always to manipulate us to give them everything we had, to give up control of our own life and emotions, and handing that control over to the narcissist. Then, once we were depleted from all aspects of ourselves, they had always planned to discard us. They do not see that there is anything wrong with their behavior and are only after supply. They do not see us as a person with needs, they see us as a tool they can use to get what they want. This is why they can move on to the next partner so quickly, they simply need more supply to survive. It was never about love, they do not have it in their heart for them to give. They do not understand love, and we cannot fix them with our love. So therefore, it was never about you. They do not care about you or who you are. They just know that's what you wanted, so they pretended to give love. It was all fake. They manipulated you and exploited you to benefit themselves. They only see us as a possession to control, an emotional punching bag or an object for supply. If you are lucky enough to now be out of the relationship with them, please do not worry about if the narcissist seems happy with their new supply. It is all a facade to make you feel like you are missing out. Narcissists love inciting jealousy into their partners. It is another form of emotional control that makes them feel powerful. In time, the new supply will sadly experience the same trauma and abuse you had endured. See it as a blessing if they have moved on away from you. You deserve real love, and there are many real people in this world for you to meet that can offer real love. But first, we must love ourselves enough to be happy on our own and know that we deserve better than what the narcissist gave us. Just because you don't currently see better does not mean that better people don't exist. You must have faith, because they do exist, and one day you will see it for yourself. As much as my empathic side wanted to believe in the good and honesty of others, deep down, I knew my ex-narcissist was a different breed. Once I saw what was behind his mask, I knew he had allowed his demons to take over his soul a long time ago. I had to leave that hope of change to a higher power. He didn't want to change. It appeared to me that he was happy hurting and using others to get what he wanted. He was even happy to hurt me, then blamed me for the pain he deliberately inflicted onto me, thus continuing to try and make my life hell by turning people against me. I had to accept that I got fooled. The narcissist had played me well. Everything that he did give me was used against me. Even things I never wanted and things I never asked for. My needs were never met and my emotions were played. I also had to accept that everything I had invested into the relationship was lost and wasted. I had to cut my losses and accept that I now had to start over in life with less than I had begun with when I first met the narcissist. Whether it was my time, my finances, my efforts, my trust, or the love and confidence I once had for myself. Within 12 months of meeting my ex-narcissist, I had become a much smaller version of myself. Please don't allow the narcissist in your life to destroy your life and your soul any further, whether you have been with them for 2 weeks or over 2 decades. We must stop rationalizing and making excuses for their lies and abusive behaviors. Please see it for what it is and stop justifying their actions to match the feeling you have for them. The feeling is only trauma bond, not love. The person we believe we love does not even exist. The only things that are real is the narcissist's cheating, lying, and abuse. And how can we love someone that treats us so horrible? If we treated someone the way they treated us, we couldn't even love ourselves. Please, to all my beautiful empaths, wake up. We cannot change the narcissist, and we deserve to have our needs met by someone else who has genuine love and kindness for us. Not fake kindness, with empty words from someone who only wants to destroy our body, mind, and soul. The narcissist is not a project for us to fix, and we are not a project for the narcissist to exploit. That is the hard truth we must accept to this relationship dynamic. We cannot change those who believe there is nothing wrong with their behavior. If they promise to change, but they have never kept a promise before, then don't continue to believe this lie. They know they are always lying to us, and yet we keep believing them. They want us to keep falling for their lies. We must stop and see them as the devil they are, disguising themselves as an angel of light, tempting you to destroy yourself just one more time. Just because they have decided to stay living in darkness does not mean we have to succumb to their dark and controlling ways. It is time to break the trauma bond and begin your healing. And that also includes healing your past childhood traumas so you do not continue to attract toxic and hurtful relationships. When I began to stop accepting the dysfunctionality in my family dynamic as normal, it gave me true healing and the strength to stop accepting the dysfunctionality in my personal relationships also. To break free from the trauma bond, we must go no contact. No contact works because it gives us space and time to detox from this emotional and mental state that we have become accustomed to. Even just looking at a picture of the two of you together can set about those addicting feelings. Avoiding social media or looking at photos that remind you of the relationship will significantly help during no contact. Once you have made the decision to leave, make it the final decision. And if you can help it, do not stay in communication with the narcissist. They see that as an open opportunity to hoover and manipulate you back into the abuse cycle. They will likely try and remain friends with you, but do not fall for this trick either. They only want to keep that door open to use you later when they have no supply elsewhere. The narcissist is like a persistent drug dealer tempting you with just one more hit after you decided to quit. Don't make it harder for yourself than you have to. If you can, block them from all avenues of contact, and don't worry about what they might be up to. Always remember that the person you fell in love with never existed. They are just an empty shell who fed off your emotional energy and used that energy against you. No contact works because they are not easily able to reach our thoughts and emotions. Because this is how they manipulate us like pawns on a chessboard. It is also the best method that helps you keep your internal strength, peace, and sanity whilst detoxing and detaching from the trauma bond they have created. It can also be much safer to have complete no contact after a breakup, as some narcissists have high stalking tendencies with a hunger for revenge simply for feeling rejected. Please keep yourself safe at all times, and it can also be safer to leave the narcissist quietly and quickly without giving them too much warning. Seek support from family, friends, and authority if needed. When we first separate from the narcissist, our emotions will be all over the place. Our mind, body, and soul are going through the withdrawals from our addiction we had to the abuser. This emotional state actually makes us more susceptible to manipulations. Remember, they keep us in a state of confusion and anxiety during the relationship, so we are easily manipulated. The feelings we feel during a separation is similar, which makes us vulnerable to the narcissist's mind games, and that's why no contact is a must. If we decide to allow communication with the narcissist during separation, the narcissist has a very high chance of manipulating themselves back into our lives. We cannot open the door to give them another chance to repeat the cycle of abuse. Every time you enter the relationship, the abuse cycle often gets worse. Do not go back in for another round that will leave you more broken. No contact is the best way to deal with all narcissistic relationships. Focus on self-healing, self-love, and self-care. You are free to discover the world, to experience new relationships, to do the things you love, to have the peace and freedom you never knew existed. Don't look back to the toxic cycle. There is a better future for you. We may miss the narcissist during no contact, but that feeling is only created by the trauma bond. You will grieve the person and the relationship you thought you had. But just remember that it was all an illusion. We are actually only grieving a fantasy that the narcissist had created in our minds. If our love for the narcissist was real, then believe that there is someone else real out there that can reciprocate that real love back to us. We deserve to receive the same love and respect we give to everyone else. If you enjoyed this video and it was helpful to you in any way, please consider supporting us by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. And please share this content if you think it can help others. Thank you. We believe that knowledge truly is power when it comes to dealing with toxic people.